whether you believe in it or not, manifestation just constantly occurs. And this is because every action has a consequence, or every action has a result, if you want to say it that way. Sometimes we don't use the word consequences because people take it as a negative. It's not really a negative, it's just the result of something. Okay, so you could say results, you could say every action has a consequence, you could say every action has an outcome. Okay, so you can say those things. Hi, Costas, good morning. Thank you. Thank you for joining us. Good morning, you guys. Jose, good morning. Good morning, guys. Good morning, Alan. So we're talking about manifestation this morning. Also, envy and gratitude, some side things that we want to discuss today. So why is envy bad? Okay. Well, let's take a look at what envy is. Okay. So it's the feeling or discontentment or resentment that you get, okay, when someone else has what you want. Okay. Now, it could be material. Okay. It could be intangible. They could be a good looking person. Maybe you don't think you're good looking, right? Maybe you don't see the beauty in yourself. Maybe you don't see the positive aspects of yourself. Okay. So then envy happens, right? You start envying the other person. It could be a situational thing like a relationship or career success or recognition. You could be sitting in a meeting and the boss recognizes somebody else for something, and you're envious because you put a lot of work into your stuff, yet you did not get recognized, that kind of thing. Okay, so these are all different aspects of envy. Okay, there's social media, right? On social media, right? People post stuff, and then the other people look at it and then they get envious, that kind of thing. A lot of flexing going on, that kind of stuff. And most of my career has been spent, well, I had multiple careers going on at the same time, and most of my work involved public things. So I was in the public eye a lot. I was under public scrutiny a lot, and I had to be very careful of what I did. And a lot of the things that I did, because I was going for long term. Okay, so here's something that you should know if you're going to start a business. If you're focusing on long term, you're probably focusing on bigger goals. Okay, if you're doing short term goals, okay, those goals are easy. Those things are easy to attain. So when I started building my companies, my first idea was a family of service companies, which is what it is today. It was not that when I started. I started with one company. It was a production company. Okay, then we built the second company, then the third company, then the fourth company. So, but this was over a span of years. Okay, and I decided that one company was too easy. I had many friends that had a company. Big deal. To me, it was like, okay, anybody can do that. And then a lot of their companies became successful, and I'm like, okay, well, anybody can do that. So let's take on a bigger challenge, because you have this one life. Okay, you have this one life, and you live this way one time. That's it. That's the only shot you have. This one time. Okay, one life, and you're only going to live this way one time as well. Okay, so why not, carve out something for yourself that will give yourself a challenge? And that's the way I was thinking. Good morning, Rihanna. Oh, Rena, sorry. Jose, good morning. Good morning, you guys. Welcome. And so I decided that a family of service companies was a challenge instead of a company. So I had that template in my head, and I sought out in life to build a family of service companies, which is what I have today. So it wasn't, to me, one company wasn't enough, one thing wasn't enough. Because if I did one thing, if I was only confined to one thing, I would go crazy. I have an ADHD brain, and that wouldn't serve my brain very well either. And I remember at one point we were diversifying after our second company, and I was going to buy a store, a small little store. It was like a 400 square foot store. And I was going to buy this store next to a housing development, because a friend of mine had built a store next to a housing development. He was getting good business from it. And we decided we were going to do that. And my mom actually told me, she goes, well, if you build a store, you can't move around. If you build a store, you got to stay in the store. It's going to anchor you. you need to be there, and all of that. So I eventually gave up on that idea. But through the journey, okay, through the last, I don't know what it's been, 40 years, um, through the journey, it's been a challenge, right? And it's always a challenge. If you have one company, it's a challenge. If you have four companies, five companies, it's a super challenge. So I decided that because I have this one life this way, right? I'm going to carve out a challenge for myself. I want to be challenged. So I sought out to build a family of service companies, and it keeps me busy. It keeps me really busy. And the thing about having multiple companies is, you know, some companies do well certain times of the year. Some companies do well other times of the year. When one company's up, the other one's down. The other one's up, this one goes down. And so we've always had that dynamic in our companies. So here's the thing about envy, right? When people see that you have something going on, they're naturally envious. Okay, here's the caveat. Okay, they're naturally envious if they don't have anything going on. Okay, so you know there's a reason. So you have to be understanding when you come across people that are envious, when you come across people that get jealous, when you come across those kinds of people that strike out at you just for being you. Okay, and I'm here to tell you that when you have goals, I'm here to tell you that when you have these certain, let's say standards in your life, and you have goals, and you're seeking to better yourself, and you're seeking to accomplish these goals. You can't let these things get you down. You need to take that as a compliment. Okay, if somebody is envious of you, that means you have something to be envious of. Okay, and that's good news. That's good news for you. Okay, because that tells you you're doing something right. Now, if nobody, if nobody was envious of you, if nobody was jealous of what you're doing, then you're probably not doing much. Okay, in that case, you need to bump up your game. So haters are barometers. Okay, people that are envious of you, people that are jealous of you are barometers. Okay, they tell you you're actually doing something right, because nobody's going to be jealous of something that that is insignificant. Okay, so if you're doing something well and you get haters, just know that you need to be thankful for your haters. Okay, because every knock is a boost, and haters will lift you up. Okay, it's your haters that lift you up. Okay, not the other side. It's not your fans. Your fans keep you there. Okay, but haters lift you up. Okay, they call attention to you. Okay, in such a way that other people become haters, and then it helps you even more. But unlike admiration, which can inspire us, envy often carries a negative edge to it. Okay, it makes us feel less than. Okay, and it can damage our relationships, self-esteem, focus in life. Whatever business you're doing, like all of that. Okay, so you want to avoid envy, because envy backfires on you. Okay, when you are envious of somebody else, my mom used to tell me this. She said when you're envious of others, she goes, don't be envious of others. She goes, when you're envious of others, you're ignorant to the fact of what they had to do to get what they have. Okay, so that's another thing to be mindful of. Okay, you don't know what they had to do to get what they have. Okay, and some people have to sacrifice a lot to get something. Some people have to degrade themselves to get things. Okay, some people have to pay a huge price. Okay, and this is where we talk about people selling their soul to the devil, and that kind of thing, right? Because there is a price for everything in life. You cannot get something for nothing. You either have to invest time, okay, or you invest money, or you invest resources. Okay, but something has to be given in order to take. Okay, in order for you to receive, you have to give. Okay, and this is why we say give often. This is why we say be generous. This is why we say generosity, is the seat of gratitude. Okay, because when you're grateful, okay, you just want to give. When you give gratitude and you're thankful for what you have, you start to realize, okay, that you get more. And then you also realize that when you start to give, you get more. Okay? So all that's necessary is for you to start giving. If you start giving, okay, if you start sharing more, giving more, okay, to others, to everybody else, what's going to happen is you're going to see that God gives to you. You're going to see that the divine gives to you. If you call it God, if you call it source, if you call it universe. Okay? But we live in an ecosystem. Okay? We live in an ecosystem and everything is energy. Everything is perception. The value of money is perception. Okay? So the value of money is assigned to money. So what does that tell you? Well, that tells you that a lot of your life is perception. If money is perception, a lot of your life is perception. It's the way you look at things. And when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. Okay? I'm going to say it again. When you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. And this is why reframing and refocus is so important. Reframing, refocus. Okay? So when you reframe something, you're usually, taking something in its negative context, looking for the good part about it, and going from the glass half empty to the glass half full. Okay? Now, in a negative situation, in a bad situation, it's about how fast you can take the glass half empty and flip it to the glass half full. And all that is identifying the good part of something. Okay? You identify the good, look for the good in it. Okay, what's the good part about this? Okay, and sometimes you have to look for a few minutes. Maybe longer. But then you find it, because there's always a good side, okay? And then you find it, then you put energy into it by focusing on it. Reframe, refocus. Okay? And now that you apply focus, what did we learn about focus? Right? Energy flows where focus goes. Okay, I did a podcast on it. You can look for my podcast. It's on my podcast. Okay, so you give this energy, you give this focus. Now you give this energy, what happens to it? It grows. Okay, it grows. Now you can try this on a small level, you can try it on a large level, it doesn't matter. Okay, but when something goes wrong, just pause for a little bit, okay? Take your time, look at the situation, and ask yourself the question, what's the good part about this? When you ask your subconscious a question, your subconscious is obligated to give you the answer. You will receive the answer. When you receive the answer, now you apply your focus to that, the good part. Okay? When you apply that focus, okay, so when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. Now you're able to take the glass half empty and flip it to the glass half full. Because now you focus on the good part of it. And when you focus on the good part of it, now it grows, it intensifies. Whatever you focus on intensifies. Okay? That's reframe, refocus. So the biggest thing you can do to ward off envy or to fight envy or to stop being envious of people is to practice gratitude. Focus daily on what you already have. Okay? Don't get fixated on what somebody else has. And understand that you have your own life path. Okay, that's what really helped me in my life. I had to understand that my life path is not like other people's. It's not like my neighbor. It's not like the guy down the street. It's different. Okay, it's not a better or worse thing. It's a different thing. It's different. Okay, it's not about comparisons. It's not about looking at somebody and comparing and judging and say, oh no, I'm better than him. It's not about that. It's about realizing that he has his life path or she has her life path and I have mine. I don't live my life like other people, and other people don't live their life like me. Okay, and once I began to accept that, and this was like I think around 30 years old, maybe 28, between 28 and 30, I started seeing these things. And I had a mentor from when I was 13. And it took me till 28. It took me till 28 for it to kick in. Okay, because a lot of times we listen to other people, like you may be listening to the live right now, and this information might not be relevant to you for another 2 to 3 years, maybe 4 years. Okay, but the information is there because you're listening to me. You're taking in the information right now. You may not need to use it right now. Maybe in 3 to 4 years, or maybe something will happen in your life and you go, I remember that guy Junior told me about this, right? I remember Junior told me about this, and yeah, and now I need it. Now I'm going to employ it. Now I'm going to use it. Now I'm going to integrate it into my life. Sometimes when we hear things, it was meant for us to hear things. Sometimes when we listen to things and we hear things, it's meant because we're meant to hear it at that time. Maybe we're not meant to use it at that time, but we're meant to hear it at that time. Okay. Harriet, good morning. Arden, good morning, Arden. So, everything in its time. Everything happens in its time. Okay, so practice gratitude, number 1. Number 2, how do you avoid envy? Turn comparison into inspiration. So comparison, is what I'm just talking about, right? When you compare, I'm comparing against my neighbor, or I'm comparing against the guy on TikTok, or I'm comparing against the girl, right, that has that fashion account or whatever it is. And those are comparisons that can make you envious. Instead of asking, why don't I have that? Ask yourself, what can I learn from them to grow? Sometimes it's like, how can I be like them without being them? How can I integrate what they're doing that's working into my life so it will work in my life? Like that. Okay? Focus on your lane. Stay in your lane. Okay? Because your lane was meant for you. Your lane wasn't meant for anybody else. Okay, so when you stay in your lane, right, you're being true to yourself. You're being true to your life path. When you stay in your lane, you receive the blessings that are meant for you. When you stay in your lane, it's where you're supposed to be. And the things that you're supposed to do, everything will fall into place naturally because it's your lane. Everyone's life is unfolding, right? Everyone's life is unfolding differently, okay? And it's unfolding at a different pace. So if you see somebody who's ahead of you, it's okay. It's okay. You have your own time. You will have your own time. Right around the time that I, received my time for my popularity and my notoriety and all of that, whatever that is, I was totally convinced that my time would never happen. I was totally convinced. I had been doing radio for years and years and years, slugging it out for $5 an hour. $5 an hour. And all of a sudden, right? And this is why I say the how is God's job. I'll share this with you. So maybe, maybe your journey will feel a little better. Okay, because my journey was hard. People ask me about my journey. I'm like, well, some nights all I had to eat in the ice box was a can of Vienna sausage and some ice water. That was it. That's all I had. Sometimes, right? That's not all I had every day, but sometimes it was like that. Sometimes it was that hard. There were many nights when I went to bed hungry. Okay, and this was when I was in my 20s, mid 20s. But I was slugging it out on radio for $5 an hour because I loved what I was doing and because I had a dream. And my dream was one day to be somebody popular on the radio. Because I thought if I did that, I could do my entertainment and then be popular in entertainment. Did it happen the way I thought? No, not at all. Not at all. Every time I plan stuff myself, right? Like I planned it out. Like, okay, I'm going to do this, which will lead to this. Then I'll do this, which will lead to that. And then this, right? Like that. It never worked. Never, ever worked. And so many disappointments happen. I can't even begin to tell you how many disappointments happen. But I kept going. Because that dream was my carrot at the end of the stick. The carrot that you dangle in front of the horse. My dream was that carrot. So my dream kept me going. So I'm here to tell you, trust your crazy ideas. Trust your dreams. Okay? Trust the things that you think probably never will work. Trust those things. Because God is real. Source is real. The universe is real. Because you're a human being and you can create these things in thought. You can create these things in your mind that will play out here in the physical, in your life. So every time I made a plan, it didn't work. Every time I figured out, well, I could do this, then I would, do this, and then this would result in this. That never worked. People ask me like, oh, Uncle, how did you do this? How did you do that? How did you do whatever? I really don't have an answer. I really don't have an answer because it wasn't me, it was God. Because I was working for $5 an hour in my 20s doing radio, right? Thinking it would lead to something. And then when I got to my 30s, I was like, this isn't going to lead to anything. And then I began thinking of other things that I could do, And right around the time I had resigned myself to giving up, probably around 35, 5 years later, something happened that changed my entire life. But it didn't come the way I thought. I thought that somebody was going to see what I was doing and make me an offer and whatever, the discovered thing. That's a fairy tale. That does not happen. That's a fairy tale. People see and discover people, yes, but it doesn't happen the Hollywood way that they put in the movies, and it doesn't work that way. They see value in you. So if you want to be discovered, okay, then project value. Seek to add value to what you do. Always look for the value that you can put in what you do. Anyway, right around the time I was giving up, right? About 5 years into my giving up stage, because I really, I thought nothing is ever going to amount to anything. 5 years in, it came to me. And it came to me in the most like nonchalant way, this guy who had the second highest radio show in Hawaii tells me, oh, this other guy was going to be, his partner was going to be out sick. He says, can you fill in for 1 week? He's in the hospital. I'm like, yeah, of course. Yeah, easy. I said, can I bring my guitar? Because I wanted to sing on the radio, right? Because I thought somehow if I show people that, you know, I can sing and I can play and, you know, whatever. Because I had been an entertainer for years, but just in small little venues, small little bars, small little things. And I thought if I could play, maybe somebody would notice, right? So it was like a promotional thing in my mind. And so I agreed, and he agreed. He said, yeah, bring your guitar, sing on the radio. And the first day, it was fun. The first day, it was like we made up a story. We made up, you know, a lot of stuff as to how I was you know, we said I was the winner of a contest, and I got to go over and sit in. And the reality was that I went over and sat in, but I was working on a neighbor radio station. So there was this hallway, and we had different radio station studios in the hallway that belonged to a group of radio stations. And I was on another radio station, and so I went and sat in on that radio station. And the first day was fun. The second day I was like, wow, this is odd. Like, people are starting to pay attention to me. This is weird. It never happened before. And by the third day, I had this little voice in my head. You know the superconscious I keep telling you about? The superconscious, okay? Conscious, subconscious, superconscious. So if you look at it in those respects, right? My conscious mind made a decision. The decision was fill in. The subconscious said, okay, we're filling in, and I started getting ideas pertaining to what it was I had to fill in for. By the third day, the superconscious gave me intuitive thought, and that thought was, you better sing for your life. This is it. The doors are opening. And that was the third day. And I don't know what came over me, but I heard that intuitive thought. That was my intuition. That was a message that I was receiving. And I obeyed. I followed it. So what happened was I started singing like my life depended on it. I started doing my comedy like my life depended on it. And the rest, as they say, is history. Okay, because that 1 week led to 1 month, led to another month, and another month. And that went on for 15 years. And that platform is responsible for building my companies. That platform allowed me to build a $4 million advertising machine within the radio station group, because I contracted to the business office. Now, this is not a business live. We're not talking business here, but here's what I can tell you. If you have a business, okay, don't look at the amount of time that it takes you to do something. Look at the big picture. See the big picture. Because that $4 million advertising machine, okay, was in the background. It was operating in the office. It was a contract between my company and the radio station group. And we built that $4 million advertising machine over the period of 15 years. In the front, okay, I volunteered to be on the radio. And that volunteer position, okay, which was actually what you would call a throwaway or a lost leader. But that position that I did for free, okay, was the lost leader. Of course I did that for free, but doing that for free brought everything else. It brought everything else. It built the advertising machine. And we had we did $4 million in retail sales. $4 million in ads. And those ads helped to build local companies in Hawaii. We helped local companies to build their companies. What kind of good luck do you think that brought? It brought a lot. It brought a lot of good luck. Did it bring envy? Oh yeah, lots of envy. Did it bring haters? Yeah, lots of haters. Was I focused on the haters? Hell no. Not at all. Okay, but the lesson here is there's your way and there's God's way. Okay, there's your way of doing things, your way of planning things, right? And then there's let go and let God. If I did not let go and let God, none of this would happen. Because then it would be my plan, right? And my plan was just my plan. God's plan was huge, okay? God's plan went 15 years. If it was my plan, who knows? But it was so small. It was so tiny compared to God's plan. God's plan was huge. God's plan built all of my companies. God's plan allowed me to do radio, television, everything, music, everything I wanted to do. Build my companies, allow my freedom, new cars, new houses, new everything. Relationships, everything. But I had to let go and let God. Because like I said, there's two ways to wealth. Okay, there's two ways to wealth. Number one, you save up all your money, right? You live small. You deny yourself a whole bunch of stuff. Okay, you live small, store up all your nuts like a squirrel, all your money in the bank, whatever, invest it, okay, all of that. But then the second way to wealth is the way I did it and the way I still do it. Okay, I put my faith in God, not money. Okay, I obey God, not money. You know, a lot of people tried to buy me along the way. A lot of people offered me all kinds of money. I'm like, no, I don't need money. In fact, the last time I went to the radio station, right? The last time I was involved with these guys, you know, I told them, I said, I don't need money. I'll do it for free. And one of the guys told me, he said, that's a really dangerous man that does not need money. And I'm like, yeah. You see? Because if you have God as your supply, okay, you're talking an infinite checkbook. You're talking an infinite supply. And as long as you're faithful to that, as long as you're faithful to God, what does that mean? Well, that means to put your faith in God, not money. Put your faith in God, not corporations. Put your faith in God, not entities that were created, right, within the system. Because you can be in the world and not of the world. You can be in the system, but not of the system. You can be independent, in the middle of everything, and still get benefits, and still survive, and still flourish. So it's not a survival thing like you get bare minimum. No, I had abundance. And I posted all of these things on my Facebook so people could see it, so people could see the journey. My consulting company is up on Facebook, VMAC Consultants. My roadshow is up on Facebook, the Kekuewa Jr. Roadshow. All of these things are documented. Not for flexing purposes, because nobody cares about that. Nobody cares that I had a wedding and party business. Nobody cares that I'm a consultant. There's so many consultants. What's the difference? No difference. But when you rely on God for your supply, when you rely on God to provide for you, right? there's an endless supply. Everything I wanted to do, I could do. Right now, I have a problem finding out what to do. I've done so many things. I've lived all of my dreams. You know, I'm trying to invent more things for me now. I'm trying to invent more dreams. I'm like, okay, what do I want? I'm like, I can't think of anything I want. I can't think of anything I want to do because I've already done all the things that when I was 12, I was like, okay, I want to do all of these things. And now at this point in my life, I've done everything. I have everything I need. I have everything I ever wanted. So now what do? I'm trying to figure that out. I'm trying to invent something. And then when I go, okay, I want this, and I go, no, I don't really want that. See, so be careful what you wish for, because you're gonna get it. You're gonna get it, but you will get it in such a way that sometimes you will recognize it, and sometimes you won't. There were so many things in my life that I look back at, and I go, you know what? I did get what I want. I didn't realize it. Well, I did get what I want. Yeah, I did want that thing, and I got it. Okay. So it's not about flexing. It's about putting your faith in your higher self, in your higher power, in Jesus Christ, in Allah, in however you believe. I'm not here to tell you what to believe or how to believe. I'm not here to tell you that the way I believe is right, the way you believe is wrong. No, not at all. I'm here, and this is not about moral judgments. This is not about, has nothing to do with right or wrong. It has to do with how you proceed. There are people that get by in a scarcity mindset. There are. Thank you, Costas. There's people that get by in a scarcity mindset, okay? But then the thing about that is every once in a while, things get taken. Every once in a while, they suffer big losses. When we have dreams, do we leave the execution of it to the... Of course. Yes, of course. Absolutely. That's what I just described, Costas. Yeah. Yeah. Because you don't know how. The how is God's job. And yeah, you have to be patient. God will make you be patient. Yeah, you have to. So, being wealthy does not mean your bank fills up and you have because that can be a problem. Think about it. If your bank is full, right, you got to pay tax on all that money. Okay, think about it. What if you had enough money to do anything you wanted to do, and when you wanted to do that thing, then the money would come, and the money would support what you want to do, instead of having tons of money locked up in the bank? You have to pay tax on that money, and the value of that money goes up and down. Think about that. When you're not using the money, and the value of the money goes down, you've lost money. If you have $1 million in the bank and the value of the dollar goes down, maybe you lose $200,000. Why? Because you left it in the bank just sitting there. The bank is the worst place for money. The worst thing you can do is hoard money in the bank. You're doing yourself and your money a disservice. If you have that kind of money, in the bank, you need to put it to work for you. You need to make money work for you. You need to tell money what to do. Don't let money tell you what to do. If you do that, then you're telling me that you can be bought. And if you can be bought, then you have no belief in this over here, the superconscious, God. When you have faith in that, when God is your supply, when God is your resource, okay, God is my resource for so many things because I don't know how. I know so many people who have a problem saying that they don't know because they don't want to feel stupid. I don't know. I have no problem with that. I have no problem with looking stupid. because I receive the benefits. And you receive much more benefits when you come from I do not know rather than when you come from I know. Let me give you an example. Okay. If you're talking to someone in a discussion and they think you know, they're not going to tell you everything. Why? Because they're assuming you know. If you come from I do not know, they will open up more. They will give you more information, and some of that information may be useful. So you always walk away with more when you come from I do not know. So now, getting back to envy, right? So instead of coming from comparison, you come from inspiration. Focus on your lane. Okay, the other thing is celebrate others' success. Celebrate the success of others. When somebody else succeeds, you need to be happy for them. Congratulate them and actually feel sincere about it. Sure, no problem, Costas. You need to actually feel sincere about that. You need to be happy for the other guy. Why? Because it will happen to you. The more you're happy for other people's success, the more you will succeed. I had to learn that. In my 20s, I wasn't happy with people's success. I was looking at the successful guys going, damn, it's them, not me. You see? But then I learned this, and I started celebrating the success of others. And when I started recognizing the success of others and telling other people like I was so happy for them, better things started happening for me. It'll happen for you too, the same way. Okay? So celebrate the success of others genuinely, okay? You have to be genuine. You have to be real. Okay? When you genuinely celebrate the success of others, it shifts your energy from resentment to positivity. Like attracts like. Okay? When you are positive, you're going to attract positive things, better things. Okay? And also, when you get rid of envy, it builds self-worth. Okay? The stronger your self-esteem, the less you'll feel threatened. You know the guys that strike out at you? It's because they have low self-esteem. They don't believe in themselves. If you don't believe in yourself, you can't believe in anybody else. So what's the next thing? Well, striking out at people, right? It's a cool pastime if you don't believe in yourself. Okay. So whether it's your career, whether it's social media, relationships, whatever it is, avoid being envious of others. And I think, when I think of the word envy, I think of my mom. And, she told me, she goes, don't be envious of others. You don't know what they had to do to get it. And some people have to sacrifice some very heavy things to have what they have. Some ladies marry these wealthy people, but their personal dignity goes down the drain because they become prisoners, because they can't do what they want to do in life. But oh yeah, they can have money. And then they get restricted as to what they can and cannot have anyway. But they have the security. Okay. I know a lot of women like that. But like I said, you have to sacrifice something to get something else. So sometimes, having the right amount of something is better than having an overabundance of something. Okay, I know so many women, they're married to these guys, they make a lot of money, but then they have a lot of conditions put on their life. That's another thing. Don't be conditional. Give from your heart. Give with love. Give from love. Give of love. And give love. When you do that, you promote the growth of whoever you're giving it to. When you're conditional, you're saying, well, I'll love you, but only if you do this, or if you're doing this, I love you. If you're not doing that, I don't love you. That's not love at all. That's bullshit. I'll call it for what it is. Okay, um, because yeah, you have to be sincere. You have to come from inside. Okay, Jesus Christ said the kingdom is in here. The kingdom is within. Everything out here is exterior. When you're putting conditions on love, okay, love is in here. Love was given to you. You were born of love. You are of love. Your natural default energy is love. Everything else that you're adding to that, everything else that you've built on top of that, comes from out here. Okay, conditioned responses, conditioned actions. Okay, things you watch on TV and you go, oh, okay, I should be like that. I mean, stuff like that. That's all artificial. That comes from out here. That does not come from the kingdom. Everything that comes from the kingdom comes from within. If it's not in you, if you weren't born with it, it's superficial. It means you learned it out here. If you learn these actions out here, it's not who you are. You are awareness. You are love. Okay? All this attitude stuff, those are things you learn. I have never seen a baby that was born with attitude. I've never seen an attitude baby. You know, I've just seen real loving babies, and then, oh yeah, life happens, right? Life happens. But those are all conditioned responses. Okay, so none of that is internal. Those things are external. Those are the things you learn in the world. So envy is natural, okay? But if you can transform it into growth, okay? If you see something that you want and somebody else has it, envy is natural, okay? But stop yourself and really understand where the lack is coming from. Where is the lack coming from? Why do you want that? You don't have it. Why don't you have it? What's preventing you from getting it? Take a look at those things. Take a look at those dynamics. Because when you start to see why you don't have it, sometimes there's a good reason. You know, like I always wondered, like, why couldn't I have a Corvette when I was 25? Why couldn't I have a fast car when I was 20 or 19? I probably would have killed myself in one of those cars when I was that young. Okay? Because I realize now, when I look at 20-year-olds and their judgment, right? But when you're 20 years old, you think you have the answers. Okay? There's a reason for everything in your life. Your growth in your time is your time, and it's your growth, and it's your lane that you're in. It's your life path that you're living. It's for you. It's not for somebody else. If you're the same age as somebody else and somebody else has a whole bunch of stuff and you don't have stuff yet, there's a reason. Maybe you're not prepared for that stuff. Maybe you're not acting in the way that is conducive to attract those things. Okay? There's a reason. I'm not saying that it's your fault. I'm not saying fault is the reason. Okay? Because if you're working on bigger things, it's going to take time. If you're working on huge things, so I'm still working on a family of service companies. I'm still working on it. That's my lifetime project. Okay? Because I didn't want to just build one company. Anybody can do that. So I built a family of service companies. I'm still working on it. It's still a challenge. We're still building. We're still working on it, see? But that's my life, okay? So a lot of the things that people my age, you know, I look at some guys my age, they're retired already. Hey, Dallas, good morning. Thanks for coming back. You know, a lot of my friends are retiring, right? I'm like, retiring? Come on, you're still young. and they have a lot of stuff, and they go traveling, they go around the world, they do all kinds of stuff, and that's not my life path. I'm happy for them. I'm not envious. That's not my dream. I'm working on my dream. The bigger your dream, the longer it takes. Okay? So in that interim, in that time, okay, when you see other people, they get in the game, they make their money in the game, then they get out, they retire, right? They get out, and then now they're doing all kinds of fun stuff while you're still working hard or working long. Don't be envious. Your time is coming. Your reward is coming. Think of the value that you can add to society. Think of the value you can add to humanity. Think of the value that you can offer to others. Always think about what you can offer others, the value that you can offer others in life. That's what will take you far. Okay, that's what will make you sleep good at night. Cutting corners and getting ahead politically and, doing things the political way, that kind of thing, those things are short-lived. Okay, because politics comes and politics goes. Politics change. We've seen that recently, right? Politics has changed. And when the politics change, the policies change. When the policies change, everything changes. Okay, does it change back? Yeah, it changes back. You have to be patient. It'll change back again. Okay? But the change is not the important thing. The adapting to the change is the important thing. So if you're reliant on politics, just understand your season will be shorter. Right? Because you can only be president so many years. You can only be a councilman so many years. You can only be, right, that kind of thing. So if you're serving that kind of system, or if you're serving those kinds of politics, the lifespan is limited. It's just for a little while. If you have a broader or longer view, and your road is longer to travel, it will take more time to get to where you want to get. But when you get there, you will get there in a bigger way. You will get there in a more full way. And if you're doing things that benefit others, okay, that's part of the reason why I'm doing the lives free. I do the lives free. I'm not here to sell you stuff. I don't try to sell you packages every day. I'm not like, hey, Costas, buy my package. I don't have a package to sell Costas, but he comes every day, and I try to give him value. See, and he receives value. That's why he's here. He doesn't waste his time. Okay. But that's why I'm here, to give value. Now, people that don't believe in themselves don't do things like this. And I'll tell you why. Okay? People that don't believe in themselves can't do these things. Okay? Because number one, they don't believe in themselves. So they don't believe in anyone else. And what I mean by that is, if you don't believe in yourself, you're not going to be giving to other people. You're not going to be giving to others. You're not going to be doing things for other people. Why? Because you can't do them for yourself. So the people who are the greatest humanitarians in life are very confident. They're very confident in themselves because they give to others. Okay, so fill this one up first, and then you can give to others. So I sit here for one hour every morning for free. I've done this since April. I've logged tons and tons and tons of hours and given tons and tons of information. I don't hold anything back because there is no secret. Okay, there's no big secret. If there is a secret, it's that the kingdom is in here. Jesus Christ told you that. So it shouldn't be a secret. Okay, but just in case you need a reminder, the kingdom is within. You have everything in here to take care of you. God lives in here. God will take care of you. God will bring everything to you. God is your infinite supply if you believe that way. If you believe money will solve all of your problems, okay. If you want to believe in money, okay. You worship money, okay. But that's temporary. It doesn't last. Okay? It does not last. It comes and goes. But when you believe in the energy in here, when you believe in this, whatever you call this, you want to call this energy, you want to call it a soul, a spirit, when you believe in that, that's where God lives. God lives in here. When you believe in that, everything you need comes to you. Whatever you want comes to you. You just have to align the conscious, subconscious, and superconscious. That's all. When you have that synergy, when you have that alignment of the three, everything you want comes to you. Everything you want to experience happens. Everything you want on the journey happens. And the only other thing you need to be aware of is that you need to serve others. So whatever it is you do, if you have a bakery, you're serving people that need bread, right? Or pastry, or whatever you make. Dessert, treats, right? Okay, put your heart and soul into serving others. Because that's when God really gives you blessings. If you're working so hard, remember I always tell you, if you're working, you're pushing, push. If you think you have to work that hard, you're not believing in God. If you believe in God, you don't have to work hard. You just have to work well. You just have to work from your heart. You just have to put your intentions into your work. You have to put good intentions into your work, and God will take care of you. It's automatic. There's no such thing as somebody who put good intentions in their work and they get bad results. There's no such thing. No such thing. It doesn't happen that way. If you put fear into your intentions, then you start manifesting bad stuff. Why is that? Because if you put doubt and fear in your intentions, you don't believe in the source of your intentions. The source of your intentions. The source of your intentions. And if you don't believe in this one, if you don't believe in God, if you don't believe in source, universe, Allah, Jesus Christ, okay? All of those things, the superconscious. If you're not believing in that, you're going to have a very tough time in life. Because you will win for a while, and then you will suffer a loss. And then you'll win for a while, and then you'll suffer a loss. But you put your faith in this one, in this one, in this one. You will get everything you want. You will become like me. I'm spoiled. Okay? And God will spoil you. Because you belong to God. You are one of God's children. Okay? Which God, however you believe, that's up to you. Don't shoot the messenger. I'm just here to deliver the message. But that's the message. Okay? Jay is saying it's time to go. Yes, Harriet. Yes, it is. It's very good. It's very good. God will take care of you. Just put your faith in that. That's all. That's all you need to do. Okay. It's 8 o'clock in Hawaii, and we're here from 7 to 8 a.m. every morning. We'll see you guys tomorrow morning. Thank you so much. We're going to cut from our international feed. We're on 7 platforms every morning for free. Okay. There's no sales pitch right now. I'm not here to sell you a program, or I'm not here to sell you CDs or whatever. Okay. So, yeah, I'm not here to sell you anything. The website is hereforyoulifecoaching.com. Okay. My email, if you want to ask me questions, I'll be happy to answer you. My email is junior@hereforyoulifecoaching.com.